Hey, YouTube, Scarpad from Scarpad's domain. How the hell are you? We're back once again with yet another James Bond franchise review. This time, the second and unfortunately the last film with Timothy Dalton. We didn't know you too long, Tim. License to Kill. There was a lot of firsts and lasts on this movie. Of course, we just said about this was Timothy Dalton's last movie. Unfortunately, there was a long layoff because of a writer's strike after this, and by the time they got back to things, I think there was a lawsuit in there too. Timothy Dalton, I think, wasn't interested in coming back, or they couldn't reach an agreement, so they moved on. But this was the first James Bond movie ever to have a PG-13 rating. That's right, PG-13 started with this bad boy, and I think if you watch the film, you'll see why. It's a lot of ultra violence, probably a lot more violence than normally would get in a James Bond movie, because this time James Bond is on the hunt for revenge after his buddy Felix Leiter, for the first time played by the same man twice. Yes, we're talking David Hedison, who was in Live and Let Die, returns to the role of Felix Leiter just to get his fucking leg bit off, you know, and then get married, but that didn't work out too well. And this time James Bond is on the revenge cycle looking for the man who did that to his buddy, a Colombian drug lord, played by Robert Davi. And of course, along the way, we meet a lot of big actors in this movie. This is the first one that had who was in this? His buddy there. I can't remember his name. We'll get into that, but yeah. So basically, this is the first one with a PG-13 rating. This is the first James Bond movie to have a tobacco warning on it, to not smoke. And unfortunately, this was the last James Bond movie to say farewell to some other stars. Robert Brown is M. This is the last time we see him. Moneypenny, who was played by Karen Bliss. Last time we see her. This is the last time that we get a screenplay by Richard Maybaum, who wrote a lot of James Bond movies. This is the last time we get a directed by John Glenn movie. This is the last time we get a produced by Cubby Abbott Broccoli, who's been with him since the beginning. He died shortly after this was over with. And Maurice Binder, who is the guy who does all those fantastic James Bond intro title sequences. This was his last film as well. So, last, in 1989, this opened up, cost $32 million to make, took in $158 million at the box office. It was a reasonable success, but they said that because of the inflation rates and everything else that was going on at the time, this movie took in less than any of the other James Bond movies when all was said and done. And to talk about all of this, finally, we're getting to our man, Dylan, from Dylan's Horror Show. A little bit long as usual, first and last list, but this movie was a little bit different. This is kind of like Miami Vice meets James Bond. And of course, this is the first time you've watched this movie. So a little bit set up here, basically, we said Felix Leiter gets his leg bit off. Bond goes up to his boss, tells him that either he has to go back to the Queen's business, or your license is going to be revoked. They revoke his license to kill. He becomes a rogue agent, but secretly he's going after was it Santos? Is it? I think his name was in this, and
Sanchez.
Why is he Santos? And then he's on the run from his own guys. So, what did you think of License to Kill?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I might have enjoyed this better than Living Daylights, honestly, in my opinion. Thought it was a pretty good story. Him just try to get a little good revenge story. Him going rogue, like you said, and just trying to get revenge for his friend Felix and Felix's wife who got murdered.
And then his buddy Sharky, who got killed too.
Yeah.
The big guy there. As we mentioned before, this got PG-13 rating. This movie definitely is a lot more violent, a lot more shootings and killings.
It had one of the most violent kills I've ever seen in a Bond. The guy getting
exploded in the
chamber or whatever when his head blows up.
Right, because he gets the bends and he explodes.
Yeah.
That
That was pretty cool.
Why am I not remembering the henchman's name there? A very young
Benicio,
Benicio del Toro,
Dario.
who also gets a very nasty death by being ground into powder.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
all the deaths in this are fairly violent and fairly nasty.
And I thought the way that they were like smuggling the drugs into that into the gas was like
Right.
super creative, man. And I thought that was kind of cool, where they somehow like use a chemical compound to make it untraceable in the gas, and then they strain the gas.
Yeah, they
and
take the gas out.
The cocaine still like goes in. That's how they strain. Then they so that's how they're gonna smuggle
Right.
like the
But
gas.
that doesn't work out too well in the end because everything's soaked in
But it was like
gasoline.
I was like, that's actually fucking. If that would have worked out, man, they'd have been fucking booming, bro. They would have. I mean, they would. That's like a foolproof plan. If Bond didn't see that shit go down, you know.
Yeah, we get Teresa Soto as one of the Bond girls. We get Carrie Lowell, who was in Law and Order for a long time.
Robert Davi is just a fucking fantastic villain. I've always loved him, man. He's just
he's singing now. He was at a festival down the road from me last year.
No way. But I always remembered him from the Goonies, you know.
Yeah, he's always a good bad guy. He's always a good bad guy.
I know he was in Die Hard too.
Fortunately, we do get a return of Q. Q's not done. Q's going to continue on, and he helps Bond out a little bit in this movie too. His uncle comes in with a few gadgets. You know, he did movies pretty light on gadgets. You know, evidently they did want to ground this kind of probably the more realistic of the James Bond movies. Although, you know, this is kind of a typical '80s drug picture. You know, it's got the villain every time he comes out. You get the Colombian guitar. So it's it's a little cheesy there.
Yeah.
You know, but this was the type of picture that was big with Miami Vice in the '80s.
I really enjoyed it though.
But I did. I really enjoyed it.
Living Daylights, definitely. Because I know some people Robbie was saying Living Daylights is one of his favorites, but I like this one better.
Yeah, I like Living Daylights, but Bond is obviously tougher in this. He's badass.
I like to see a little bit like a little side to him. Like this is very personal for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's like it's not just for the crown.
Right.
You know, this isn't just the mission. Like this is very personal for him.
Right.
So, because I like too, like right when he's like Sanchez is about to kill him, or he's like, "You could have had everything," and he's like, "Don't you even want to know why?" And he shows him the lighter. And then fucking catches him on fire. So I thought that was a pretty badass way, you know, like that little line.
Yeah, the stunts were fantastic in this though.
Yeah,
when he's up on the plane.
Yeah,
and that whole truck chase. I think this was the first movie where they ever got the truck to go up on its like this, so they could shoot a missile underneath it.
Yeah, and it's going, and then it smashes down.
Right,
that shit was awesome.
All the tires are on fire, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was crazy. That big ass truck on its side just driving, and then like it goes right down onto the other car. And I was like, that's real? Like, dude, that was great.
And then we got a cameo from Wayne Newton, the great Wayne Newton there, who's a singer, who always wanted to be in a Bond movie. So he played the evangelist there, luring his. I love his little shag shack there. He goes in, the guy, the televangelist, my child, and he goes in the beds right there. He's got the music playing and stuff.
Yeah. But I thought Carrie Lowell as Pam was. She did good. She was pretty. She was pretty good as well. She was very fucking hot. I liked her a lot better than Lupe.
Yeah, right.
Lupe was pretty, but I think Carrie Lowell was way better, and she was kind of a badass too.
Yeah, this is the '80s, so they started getting the women more involved in the plots.
Yeah,
and becoming more of a badass.
Yeah. And I did like to see Q in it as well too.
We got and
he kind of worked a little bit more with Bond in this. Like they were kind of like he helped him with the mission a little bit more. I felt like than any of the other ones, which I thought was cool too.
He's a little bit more buddy with this Bond than the other Bonds.
Yeah,
but they were all fairly buddy with him for the most part.
What was that?
They were all fairly buddy with Q. But
I feel like he was a little more buddy with him in these last two. I
Yeah,
really do. I feel like I don't know, they just brought Bond, like Q a little bit more into the fold with
right.
it, with Timothy Dalton's Bond.
Yeah, this is also the first Bond movie, not the film
Like where
in
the other ones, I feel like Bond never had like a closeness with them. It was more just
right.
money penny. So now I feel like Bond's kind of taking that like little jive they had, him and Moneypenny had, where now it's like there is no Moneypenny, so they kind of threw that with
Well, there is
Q.
money pays there. He's played by a different actress, and it
There's
doesn't
no
have his.
Moneypenny in this.
Yeah, there is
Is
Q
there?
money. Yeah, Q money penny had scenes.
Oh yeah, there's a new
Yes,
Caroline
yeah,
Bliss.
she's the one. She's the same one from last one, but this is her
No,
last movie. That's all changing, the money pennies and stuff, and the Qs,
yeah,
not the Qs, but the M's. So yeah, I mean, but this was also Peter Lamont who does all the big sets. I don't know if this was his last movie. It may have been, but they had a big set. I mean, the whole cocaine processing plant set, which caught on fire and exploded. That was a pretty huge set, with explosions and that conveyor belt and stuff like that was done really well. So we had that we had that set piece, and we had the whole truck chase at the end, for the final thing. But along the way, we also get that great scene where he's underwater and he's jet skiing in a plane. He has the thing and he goes up and jet skis up. A lot more underwater stuff in this. We get some more subs and we get some more scuba diving stuff. Bond had that manta ray costume. He was like a big manta ray, and he got rid of that, and then we just scuba up.
right.
And I just I like the way Timothy Dalton played Bond, and it's a shame. It's a shame that he wasn't kept on for at least one more movie. Because I think he would have, ultimately, his movies are pretty good in the grand scheme of things. They're up there. They're better than some of them. So
Yeah,
I think by taking this out and trying to make this less of a typical Bond movie and more of like an 80s revenge, it did kind of breathe some freshness into it, because it wasn't the same old plot that we've seen in a lot of the other movies. This was a little bit different, a little bit more personal, ground street level. And, that's an interesting thing to see for Bond.
yeah.
He doesn't get a chance to be in the tuxes too much in this. He's more in, regular clothes, battling it out.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, this is the year, as I said, that Batman came out, Indiana Jones came out. There was a ton of movies came out with this, so it was a very crowded movie theater when this came out in '89. And this guy got lost in the shuffle. But over time, I think it's borne out a little bit better as one of the more classic movies.
Well, I mean, at this point, man, these movies have been coming out for like what, 20 years. So
Right.
At almost 30 at this point.
Well, more than that, no.
Almost
the
30.
first one was in '62, so no longer.
Well, yeah, this is 89, so
60.
almost 30 years.
Oh, 30 years for this one. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
So, I mean, and they're coming out every couple years, so it's like, I'm sure, this was just getting to the point where people were like, yeah, I'll watch it. I'll catch it on VHS or something,
Right.
Or
And the longest gap is between this one and the next one. That was probably
but
the
like
longest
at
gap.
this point, there's VHS and beta, and you can go to the video store, where before
Right.
movies were in theaters for months, a year, if not, you know what I mean? Like before it came on the television. So
Yeah, and as I said, it released July 10th of 1989.
plus, we're
Right
talking about the 80s still,
in the
man.
middle of the summer,
This is the last year of the 80s, man. And the 80s were just going crazy with movies.
Yeah, '89 was a big year.
Oh, yeah.
'89 was definitely a big year.
Every year, the 80s was a big year. All 9 years we're popping. But I definitely would say that I think this was my favorite of Timothy Dalton's. I really liked this movie. I really did. I really loved Sanchez, and I loved that he had that like big ass shark, man. Like I think he had the coolest looking shark out of all the Bond villains.
Yeah.
The rest all had like those little sharks, where he actually had like he had a great white. It looked like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I
he
like
had
this.
like a Jaws
I like
type.
the scene where he's walking across the thing and the shark pops up
Yeah,
to the
dude.
thing,
Like
and
yeah,
his
so
buddy there is looking like, "What, you want me to come into that?"
yeah,
And then they had that great firefight scene in the warehouse there where he throws the guy into the fucking thing of maggots.
yep, yep.
Bon appetit.
Yeah. I already said bon appetit,
No,
like bond,
bon
but yeah,
appetit.
that was
Do you mind
fun.
if I get my hands out of this?
Yeah, well, this is another good place to hide your drugs, man. Nobody's sticking their hands in that,
In the
except
maggots.
Bond, I guess.
In the maggots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, John Glenn directed another good one, man. I mean,
and this is his last one, so he
this
went
is
out.
last one.
He went out in
I
style.
mean, this dude directed a shit ton of Bond movies, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus. He
And
directed.
then before he directed them, he was the second unit action director. So he was in the movies for a long time.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
He was second unit director for On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker. Then he finally got to direct For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, View to Kill, Living Daylights, License to Kill. I mean, the man worked on fucking 7 Bond movies?
Yeah, quite a few.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 8. 8 Bond movies. I mean, Jesus.
What did you think of the opening sequence, the whole beginning title, where they're going at the Sanchez and the wedding? What were you thinking?
That was a good. Yeah, that was a good opening, and I thought the opening song was really good as well.
Yeah, the opening music
one
was
had
okay.
a little bit of a weaker like ending. Like there's no kind of like it just kind of like ended with him kissing her in the pool. But
right, well, yeah. I mean, you didn't. There hasn't been really too many of these. Remember all the Sean Connery ones?
Yeah,
had
that's
the
what I was
villain.
gonna say.
Had the villain comes back at the end, and he goes.
They haven't done that.
And even the Roger Moore ones had that too, for a certain extent. And they really don't do that too much in the newer ones.
Yeah.
But
it had a good opening. And I like when they break them out of jail or break them out of custody or whatever. That was really cool.
Yeah, originally the John Barry was supposed to do the score, but he was unavailable. So they got, because of surgery or something, so they got Michael Kamen. And I thought the music of the movie is a little weak, just the James Bond stuff. It wasn't as driving as you get John Barry stuff.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, I didn't really notice it as nearly as much as I did on the others.
Right.
Not that it was bad or anything. No. It just wasn't dry, like as prominent like the other ones. Especially during some of the really cool like action scenes. That music really comes into the fold.
Right. I mean, in the
this one, it didn't nearly as much.
Yeah, the title track of this was Gladys Knight and the Pips. And they did have, you notice in that title song, they had a little bit of Goldfinger horn in it too. The was in there a little bit.
Yeah.
So they kind of worked that in. That was kind of cool.
I mean, dude, it's a John Glenn, this being his last one. I mean, that's a fucking big one, bro. Because I mean, this guy worked on some great Bond movies, and this guy, I feel like, really, held it together. Held a good portion of these movies together for more than a decade. I think he's a big part of the success for Bond for a lot of them, man.
And as I said, this was the first Bond to get a PG-13, and every one from this point on is PG-13.
Oh, nice.
But this one
finally made it to Pierce Brosnan is next. Crazy. Finally got GoldenEye after this.
Yeah, and it's really weird, going from.
I almost feel like this is like the end of it, because I know once Pierce comes in, like Pierce's, from what I've heard, are like just okay. Really just GoldenEye.
Yeah, I mean, I still like him, but I'm not gonna say that all Pierce Brosnan stuff is weak.
I think he has such a different look than like Connery and Roger Moore. I don't know.
but not really. And most of, a lot of his movies are directed by Martin Campbell, who did the Zorro flicks. Remember those Zorro flicks?
Yeah,
Martin Campbell did a lot of his, and the action stuff is pretty good in it. But
yeah.
GoldenEye was 1995. This was 1989. So you see a 6-year layoff, the longest layoff between Bond films
Oh wow.
we've got, at least to that point.
Yeah, well, I always loved the video game GoldenEye, so I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah. So basically, there's a 6 years hiatus caused by legal disputes, and Timothy Dalton's contract expired, and he decided to leave the role. And then of course, they went after the guy they've been going after for years, Timothy Dalton, who was finally available to become James Bond, and it was a pretty easy pick for him. And then, of course, we get our first female M with Judi Dench, who pretty much had the role till Daniel Craig's last movie, or a couple of movies, So we get her coming in. She's really good as M, and a different type of M. She plays M, Judi Dench.
Wow.
And then we get sort of by that point, 1995. James Bond is kind of a relic of the Cold War, and they play that up in these new movies where his ways are being frowned upon and looked down upon. But of course, he keeps on doing them. So that's what we get next. We get Pierce's first movie. But yeah, Timothy Dalton, definitely one of my favorite Bonds. I thought he did a great job. It's sad to see him go.
Yeah.
I like both of his movies. They're definitely different in tone, each one, which is kind of nice because. But I would say, as Bonds go, if you had to say, okay, rate Bond for like his toughness, to me it would be Sean Connery, Timothy Dalton, and then probably Daniel Craig, at least in the first movie. But Pierce does a good job in the next one too. But definitely, I like the tough Bonds, and Dalton's definitely up there.
Yeah, he's pretty good, man. I really enjoyed him as well.
But as you said, this movie really was helped by having a strong villain with Robert Davi.
Yeah,
I can't imagine anybody else playing that character.
No,
any better with the flair. The only guy I would think would play it better maybe would be Al Pacino. Get Al Pacino in there doing his Tony Montana stuff. He might be able to carry it off. But other than that, I think Robert Davi is a great pick for this.
Yeah, he was fantastic, man. I always loved him. So I was very excited when I saw him as the villain. I had a feeling I'd really like this from the get. And I definitely did enjoy it. He was a great, big, bad, villainous drug lord.
Yeah, and I like all the people he had around him, too. I mean, Anthony Zerbe is a guy they popped in the Kessler.
Yeah.
They popped him in the decompression chamber. He was good, sleazebag.
Benicio, young Benicio.
Yeah, young Benicio. You had Don Stroud, who was the other henchman, the guy getting the Stinger missiles. He is a big Western actor. He's been in a lot of action movies. We had Wayne Newton in there, of course, and it was cast pretty well. And the guy who played the poor guy I feel bad for is the guy who played like his lawyer, the guy that set up all the deals, because he got fucked, man. I mean, he got shot. I mean, the fucking Sanchez fucked everything up, and at the end he's going, "Oh, you just blew another one. That's another $80 million drain. Boom! I gotta write you off. Boom, boom, boom. Dead.
Right.
Guy set up all these fucking deals, and that's it.
And he just blows it.
That scene in the safe house there, where they got the Chinese is trying to get information out of Bond.
Yeah.
And they come in and they kill everybody, and that's why he thinks Bond is on the up and up.
Yeah.
That was a good scene too. All the people are dead on top of Bond, and
it's kind of crazy that Benicio's the one that kind of finds out that Bond's an informer, as he calls it.
Right. I think that's just so they could have a have a little bit more fight scene at the end. Although that scene they did in the bar was pretty good with the somebody going after him with a fish from the wall there, and that gunfight in there was done pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think Benicio could have had a little bit more of a part. He disappeared for a big chunk of this movie and then came back at the end. So he was good, but I think he could have done a little bit more. It's almost like they were trying to split up time between him and that Anthony Zerbe character who played the guy that got blown up. Maybe they could have combined those two characters and maybe just had Benicio and just have more of him in the movie.
Yeah.
But he wasn't as big of a star when he made this. He was just like starting to come up.
Yeah.
So I can understand why he wasn't in it as much. So probably favorite action scene in the movie. Yeah, it's going to be the truck chase. I mean, the whole thing at the end with the truck chase and the missiles shooting at the trucks and then him getting the revenge on Robert Davi with the lighter, I think was perfect.
Hell yeah.
Because you're all soaked in gasoline, and that was done really well. But there was a lot of good action scenes in this movie. It had a little bit of, we had the underwater stuff, we had the in the air stuff. So we had a good mix of like different type of action scenes, I think.
Yeah.
And then by filming it primarily in the United States, we get to see Bond out of his element because this movie, he wasn't in England at all. This is the first movie he didn't film any scenes in England. And they actually did that for budget reasons. They didn't want to film there. They filmed here because it was cheaper.
Really?
So they filmed here and then they filmed wherever they were in Jamaica, whatever there. But yeah, a lot of it was filmed here in the States.
Damn.
So
yeah, I'd probably go with that ending scene. I love it. Like he'd be like how just the ending car scenes, all that, or with the truck scenes. But when he's driving the truck and has the one back part like go down to go right into one of the trucks, and then he's like letting some gas go out so that
perfect timing
so much, man. And letting gas go out so that, like the cars behind he can like let it trail and it'll blow them up. So
yeah. And I love how and then the car goes out the cliff on fire just as it almost hits the airplane she's flying over.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't time any better than that shit.
You really got it, man.
Everything,
what a whiz.
Everything where it had to be at the right time.
Seriously. But yeah, dude, that was a great ending, man.
Yeah, great. Believe, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably the most ruthless we've seen Bond in any of the movies. I mean, he's usually going after the villains, man, but he let some of the guys had it in this one.
Yeah, I really like that. That's what I really liked about this one. Like this was more personal, obviously, and you could just tell there was a little bit more extra of a fire in him on this one,
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely thought it was really good. And I think that Timothy, because I was watching interviews on the behind the scenes, and he was saying like this is the first one that's not based off a book or the title. He's like, so we tried to pull bits and pieces from a lot of the stories, but I think they had brought a little more fire trying to make this like, well, this is the first one without being based off an actual book. So they probably knew like this one was probably doubted a lot because they're like, oh, this one's not going to be based off any book. It's not going to be as good. It's the first original.
Well, a lot of people didn't like it because it was so different than the other Bonds that it was more of a revenge story. They wanted to see more of the old type of Bond stuff. But I don't think young Roger Moore or old Roger Moore could have pulled this one off because he didn't have that type of killer instinct in him as much. He killed people.
Yeah.
He always threw a witty line in there, or So yeah, I think Timothy Dalton was the perfect Bond for this.
I do too.
For this movie.
Yeah.
Not that Pierce Brosnan.
And a little bit younger, more willing to do the bigger stunts. Where Roger Moore was way too old. Roger Moore wasn't doing big stunts like this. Timothy Dalton was doing all his stunts on his own for the most part. Like what he could. He tried to do like all of his stunts on his own that Roger Moore wasn't doing that. So
no, very, very little. You just did the close-ups.
Yeah, exactly.
Your close-up, Mr. Bond.
Right. So
when they first went to that house where he met him there and he saw those cats Did you think maybe Blofeld was in there?
Uh,
The first scene they show all the cats, and they show the cats. And shit, is Blofeld back?
right,
I was
that'd be nice.
expecting a little Blofeld in there, but no, it never
Unless I
happened.
see an all white fluffy cat, I know
Yeah, I know.
Blofeld's
I
not
guess
back.
so. I guess. All right, so I guess that's it for
Blofeld
License to
doesn't come
Kill.
back until the Daniel Craig ones,
That's
right?
right. That's right. So this is License to Kill, last movie with Timothy Dalton. We hardly knew you, Tim, but good job. We enjoyed your movies. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And,
you did a great job, man.
did enjoy it. Nice little fill in. And now we go forward 6 years, and finally we're on Pierce Brosnan. I tell you, we're on the ass end of this whole thing. So
Yeah.
how many movies we got left? We got what, 7 movies left? So
Yeah,
I believe
yeah,
7 or 8, 7 or 8, I think.
we got. We got less than we've done more than we have left. That's for damn sure. We got GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day. So that's 4. And then Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, Spectre, and then No Time to Die.
Oh shit! We got 5 fucking of those Daniel Craigs.
Yeah.
God.
So
You may have to do those by yourself.
Got, what, 9?
You may have to do those last ones yourself. No. Well, by the time we get to No Time to Die, we'll both be watching a movie that we both haven't seen.
Yeah.
You
haven't seen No Time to Die.
I saw everything but the last 20 minutes. I shut the movie off. I didn't want to see the ending. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Daniel Craig ones are like 3 hours long, dude.
Some of them are long, yeah. Some of them are real long.
Yeah.
And they seem it.
Yeah, I know. That's why I gave up on them, because those are the only ones I have seen are the Daniel Craig, and I haven't seen all of them. I've only seen I think the first 3 or something.
Yeah.
First 2. And
I think
I saw up to Skyfall.
Yeah, the first one I really enjoyed. The second one is actually better than people make out to be. But we'll discuss that at a future date. So, well, thank everybody for coming in. Join us for License to Kill. We'll be back sometime soon with GoldenEye. So watch for that.
Yeah.
And of course, watch
get that next week.
And watch for any of our videos dropping. We're dropping all sorts of stuff between DHSs and reviews of movies. I think we're going to do a review of Kong versus, was it Kong X? Something, whatever that movie's called.
Kong Godzilla.
Kong X Godzilla.
Godzilla. A New Empire.
Does that mean Kong loves Godzilla?
Yeah. Kong was it Hugs Kisses?
I think they're going to end up boning. They're going to end up boning.
Kiss?
I think they're going to end up boning them.
Yeah, have little hybrid babies.
Hybrid babies, yeah.
Have little Kongzilla babies.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if Kong's a male or female, and Godzilla, you never know. So.
Yeah, I know. Well, they could be gay together.
I'm just saying it could be a father or mother, because he did have a son, but technically you don't know if he was the father or the mother.
Right.
So, who knows?
But Kong's supposed to have a baby Kong in this. Even though I don't think that's going to be his real son. Because it doesn't look like him.
Something tells me I'm going to have to really turn my brain off on this one. That's okay. As long as it's good, goofy fun.
It's going to be a popcorn flick.
Yeah.
So
Godzilla running like a maniac.
Yeah.
We'll be seeing that this Friday.
He's picking up some speed in this one.
Godzilla's like fucking Speedy Gonzalez, man. He's fucking booking ass. He's had some cardio, man. He's practicing.
Right.
So
we'll probably he's been hitting them weights.
So we'll probably do a review on that. So keep watch out for that. And you never know what we'll be dropping. So thanks everybody for coming in and watching our last James Bond review with Timothy Dalton. Stay tuned for GoldenEye, and we will all catch you later on.
Later.
Peace, motherfuckers.
Peace, motherfuckers.